welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen and today I'm going to be doing a plant project showing you how to make a macrame plant hanger. So here in the UK we've just gone into our third lockdown, I know, and it does mean that I've had lots of time to get crafty and get lots of projects on the go. So I decided that it would be a really good idea to start a plant project sort of theme that I'm going to do throughout the rest of this year. So I've come up with a couple of ideas and I'm going to do one video a month, and it will be based on a different plant project that you can get involved in, make yourself at home, or just enjoy watching me make. So number one on the list is going to be the plant macrame hanger today. These are absolutely lovely. I've got one here that I've made yesterday. I haven't trimmed this at the bottom yet, so don't worry about that tatty bottom. It's just because I haven't decided what plant I'm putting in it yet, so that will be trimmed once I know whether I need to just make this any longer or anything really. But I've just popped this plant in there for you today. So this is what we're going to be making. There's a couple of things you're going to need for this. So one of them is going to be a wooden ring. Here, I will put sizes and things like that down in the section below, as well as some links to where you can buy these things on Amazon in case you want to go through that route. But you can get these at loads of different craft shops and loads of different online stores. So yeah, a wooden ring is definitely one thing that you're going to need to start off with. Then obviously rope to be able to make the hanger here. Just pop that one down. So I'm going to be using grey for this today, just because I'm going to be doing it against a white surface, and I think the grey will probably show up a little bit better for you. And I do really like the white and grey mix of ropes and things like that. So yeah, we're going to be going with that one today. So you just need to cut 8 lengths of 300 centimetres. I will put inches variations and things like that down below. So you've just got 8 lengths there. They will then be folded in half, which will give you your 16 bits of rope that you need to be able to make this with. Obviously that's where the ring will sit, and then you just basically just do a lot of knots. I've kept the knots simple today because I know that this isn't a macrame channel or doing that sort of thing, so I've tried to create a bit of a simple one that can also be adjusted for different plants. One of the main reasons why I decided to do this today is because I buy a lot of macrame plant hangers, and I always find that the plants that I want to put in them are either too big or too small, or they sit too far down and it makes the leaves look funny. So I decided to start making my own so that I could get the right depth that I wanted for the plant and really make sure that it sat nicely. That's just one of those things for me, the aesthetics. I really like it when the plant actually looks like it's supposed to be there. So just before we get into the video today, guys, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up if you like my video today. Hit that subscribe button to check out any future content, and leave any comments down below. Right then, so let's get into it. So this is the area that I tend to use for my macrame. It's just got a nice sort of background. I can stand up and I don't get a bad back from sitting funny. So just start with your wooden ring. I'm just going to place that on some sort of hook or something that you've got. Then next you've got obviously your rope that I've pre-cut mine. So this is just 8 lots of 300 centimetre rope. As I said, I'm going for the grey today just because it shows up quite nicely in front of the white here. So just make sure that they're all even at the top there. So just go through there. And then you just want to bring them down, make sure there's no sort of kinks or hooks in them, make sure the bits of rope are nice and straight as it goes down. And then just meet them up at the bottom so that they're all the same length. Excuse my rabbit stomping in the background, he's come out to play right as I'm filming, which happens a lot for me. There we are, so that is our starting point. Okay, right then, so I've just popped this other one here so that you can see what we're going to be making today and what knots we're doing as we're going along. So this will obviously sort of show you where we're starting. So this knot at the top here is actually the same knot that you've got further down here as well, and it's actually called a square knot. So that's what we're going to start with. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure these are laid out nice and straight, the same at the back there as well. You are then going to take the very top one here, you're going to lay it, if I can get my fingers right, across like this, so you've got a little loop off to the side here. You're then going to take the one on the far side of here. You're going to bring that bit of string in front of the other side. That there is then going to loop around the back of all of your string, and then you're going to pull that through the other side, okay? And then as you pull that tight, just make sure that you've got, so this is just the first one, so you just need to make sure that everything's nice and tight in there. And then as you pull it tight, of course you can see there, it does that there, okay? So that is half of the square knot. You are then going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So with this one in your right hand, you are going to make the loop. You'll then with your left hand one, bring it forward, loop it over that side, round the back, so that's looped over the top, and then through the right hand side. Okay, so just pull that nice and tight. There we go, so we'll just do that one more time. So that is a square knot there. So another one, so just go left hand side, take your right hand string, loop it around in front, pull it right the way around the back, and then loop it through the left hand side. Pull it tight. So that's half of your square knot, and then the same again on the other side. Make your loop, bring your string in front, round the back, and pull through that side. There you are. So we're just going to repeat that 4 times, okay, going down, and yeah, I'll be back with you again shortly. There we are, so you've ended up with 4 square knots there, and then we are going to go into what we call a spiral, a half square knot spiral. So it's similar to a half square knot, but then basically you just keep going the same way instead of switching to the right hand side as well. But obviously we're not going to do that with the entire thing, so we're then going to break it up, and that's how you then obviously get your stems that come off here to create a plant hanger. So to divide them up, I like to stick with them sort of being together, so I'd pick those 4 there. So let's just push, if you break them down into 4 strings at a time, yeah, try and keep them sort of next to each other or from the same area so it doesn't look odd. I'm just going to hook some over there. Those ones can just go out of the way here, just for demonstration purposes, so you can sort of see what I'm doing. Actually, let's put those over that way there. Right, so you've then got 4 strands here. So just make sure that knot at the top there is nice and tight, and then we're going to start doing the spiral. So it's the same process as before, left over the top, swing around, and then go right underneath, okay? But the only difference is that you've only got 4 cords, which is, you know, the way that the knot's obviously meant to be, but it does actually look quite cool when you've got the chunky ones there and it just holds it all tight together. So I really like the way that looks. But instead of then changing and doing the right hand side, you're just going to continue on the left. So you do another loop on the left hand side, bring your right one in front, and then back through the loop there. Okay, so if you pull that nice and tight, then basically you start to get a spiral. So if I do a couple more here for you, there you are, so you can really start to see how that's starting to turn now. So that is 5 half spiral square knots. We are going to go down and do, I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to do 12 spirals at the top on each strand. So that's 5 there, so I'm going to continue on and do the 12, and then we'll do the rest. There you are, so it feels like this cord's actually a little bit thinner than the white one that I use. I thought it was the same thickness at 3mm, but maybe it's not. I'm just going to do an extra couple here, so I'm actually going to go down and do 15 on each strand, so just do another 3. There we go, so then we're then going to copy that on the other ones, so we're just going to break these down. So what I would then do is just move on to the next 4 strands over here, and do the same there. And then split the others in half, so you've got another 4 strands, and do the other 2 as well. Right, so I've now completed all 4 of the half spiral square knots there for you. So as you can see, so I did the first 2, and then I basically just turned it round to make it easier to get to the other ones. So that's 4 there. So they've got 15 spiral half square knots on each bit there for you. So we're then going to go on to do the next section, which is square knots down here. Now I actually need some shorter plant hangers, so as you can see here I've left a bigger gap on this side And then I go down to do about 5 or 6 square knots, leave a little gap and then the same again before I go down. So I'm on this side gonna leave a shorter gap here, and then I'm only gonna do 4 square knots, then do a little twist and then another 4. So we'll just go through that now. So basically you're doing exactly the same as you did at the top here. So I'm gonna come down to about here, and you're just gonna make that figure 4 with the left hand string there, the same as you did before. The right hand one's just gonna come in front, underneath, and loop back through here. Now instead of pulling this right up to the top, you're just gonna lightly pull it. I tend to hold those middle strings with my thumb and my finger just to keep them tight. Wherever you put this first one, it doesn't really matter, as long as the rest of them you sort of measure it out as you go. So yeah, so obviously when I then go to do the next one, I'm gonna sort of measure where that is and make sure that they match up, because you don't want them to look uneven. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other side. So another figure of 4 from the right hand string, left one in front, and then round the back. So that counts as 1 square knot there. So you're gonna do another 3 of those, so there'll be 4 square knots before we do the twist. Right, there you are, so there's 4 square knots there. So then to do the twist, the reason why I've put a little twist in here is because if you keep using the outside strings all the time, they end up getting shorter than the ones in the middle. So basically all you're gonna do is you're gonna take your 2 outside strings, take them round the back and pull your front strings out to the side. So these are gonna become your new main strings or pieces of rope. So then by holding with your thumb and finger like I did before in the centre the 2 outside ropes that you're no longer going to use, they're going to be your centres now, you're then going to create the figure of 4 with your left hand rope, and this is going to become your right hand rope, so that will be your round the back and loop through. Okay, you then want to pull that up as high as you want it to go. Right, so I'm just going to carry on then. So now you just got to do a loop on the right hand side to finish off this square knot. Yeah, and then I'm just going to do another 3 here and finish off this section. You can either then go on and repeat that on the other ones, or you can carry on this string and then repeat the others later. I'm going to carry on this one string just for demonstration purposes because it makes it a bit easier for showing you, and then I will fill the others in before we get to sort of the tying off stage at the end. Cool, so I just adjusted the camera a little bit there just to make sure you can definitely see. So as you can see on this one here that's already been made, I've now got quite a big chunky spiral bit here. However, if you fold that in half, it's exactly the same distance that I've put on the strings here, and I quite like that because it makes it look symmetrical. Even though it's got a longer spiral here, it just creates that sort of dynamic which I quite like. I'm probably going to keep my spiral at the bottom for this one about the same, so you can really see that diverse and it really makes it a bit shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this where the spiral is here, just so that you can measure those up. That there is then, without putting my hand in front of the camera, bring up here, and you know that you need to start your spiral roughly, I mean this is rough, it's not going to be perfect, but roughly about there, okay? And then that gives you roughly an even gap between those, okay? So I'm then just going to do the same thing again as we did at the top and create our little spiral. Fold that again and hold that up, look, you can see that that is roughly about the same length there. So I'm now just going to go ahead and do the other 3 strands. So I'll do this one at the front here with the square knots and then the spiral at the bottom, and then I'll just turn it around to do the others at the back, and I'll see you again in a minute. Right, so there we are then guys. So that's all 4 of those now completely matching. Everything else that you do below this is what actually holds the plant in place. So as you can see on this one, you then just got to do these little square knots on alternative ones. These just sit around the side of the pot. If I just grab I've actually just got an empty pot here, which is sort of my guideline for today. So they are going to sit sort of around here, and thing is, a lot of plant hangers I find they sit so low down that it does that, and you then find out that your plants are getting stuck in here, the branches and leaves and everything are getting all squashed up, which obviously with hanging plants you're bound to have stuff coming out. So I prefer to do it so that it hangs about here. So what we're going to do is, we're just on this grey one, we're going to just add these little knots in place, and then we can work out talk about tying it off at the bottom and things like that. So just coming down, obviously this one's a lot higher, so it just shows you the different heights. So this one, the plant's going to sit down like way down here. This one, the plant's probably, if we do our knots about here, the plant's probably going to sit about there. So it really is, you know, quite a bit shorter. So starting with the front two here, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the outside two away from this one and the outside two away from the right hand side sort of arm, and then basically you've got the 4 in the centre. So you're then going to work your way down probably about that much. Don't know how much that is, about 3 inches. And then you're just going to do one single square knot. So if I just do that now, so the same principle as before, left side first, and then you're going to do the right side. And we're doing the square knots here just because it looks better. Obviously the spirals are great when you're doing lots, but not for singular ones. So there you go. If I pull that apart, look, you can see that they are now attached. Lovely. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 from the side at the back. Once again, just make sure that that back one is nice and straight. So you're then going to do the same thing. So it's a bit of a weird angle to show you here, but the same thing here. So I'm just going to pull this to the side to meet. So once again, you've got to measure it out with the one that you've already done, because that's your telltale sign. There's no point in using a tape measure. It's much easier to do it visually. So you're then going to add another square knot in there. Just measure it out again once you've got the knot roughly in place. Yep. Right hand side, just make sure it's correct, because this is the bit that's going to sit around the pot, so it might be a bit, if you do it too out of line, then it might make it a bit skeweth. There we are then, so that is number 4. So I think the depth that you sort of leave here depends on how sort of wide this is going to open, because that's obviously where it's taped. So this one here might open a little bit wider. Yeah, it does look, because these ones here are a bit smaller, but that's fine because I've got a bit of a, you know, the pot isn't huge, so it's not a bad thing. So I'm just going to sit that in here. Lovely. So I'm just putting the pot in there to measure it out. So I know that I want to tie this off roughly, because I want that pot to sit just below the swells there, roughly around, let's just measure 1, say around this point here, okay? So I'm just going to hold that point on that one there, and then just take the pot out. So yeah, I'm going to finish this one off the same way that I started it up the top here. So I don't know if you remember that knot there. So it's nice and chunky and it looks really pretty, and I think it finishes off really nice. So we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to gather all of these. Obviously you want some at the back, some at the front, into the same section, so that we end up with the rope roughly how we had it before. Now make sure it's all twisted so it's the right way and they all sort of sit flush together, because you don't want any that are twisted funny. Now if I remember correctly, I've just let go of my place, but I think it was about here that I wanted to do that. So you're just going to take one from the outside, you know, bring it down however you want it to go. Obviously if you do it, you can undo it again if you decide that it's not quite the height that you wanted. So I'm just going to bring it down to here. So yeah, you're just going to make your figure 4 with your left hand side, and then the right hand one comes in front, round the back and through the loop. It's exactly the same as you've been doing the whole time, guys. It's just obviously more rope, so it's the same as the beginning. I'm just actually going to drop that down a bit because that feels quite high. Yeah, there you go. Let's go with that there. Cool, so I'm just pulling all those ropes down in the centre there with my fingers to really make sure that that stays tight and sits nicely. So just do my loop on the other side. So obviously you are alternating like the square knot, not the spiral. Although you could do a spiral here if you wanted to. I just feel like the square knots just feel a bit more secure. And obviously you're finishing it off and this is what's going to hold up your plant. So cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and do, what did we do at the top? About 5 of these. I think I've pulled that a bit tight there, but yeah, so that's, you can either do, that's 4 there. I think I'm going to stop at 4. I think that looks quite nice actually. So you can either do 4 or 5, whichever you prefer. All right, and then your plant will just come along, scooch in. Let's just check to see my measurements. Yes, that's pretty much where I wanted it. It's a little bit high, but I have got some smaller pots to put in, so that'll be quite good. So you do have to measure. If there is a specific pot that you want to put in, then you might have to tweak it a little bit, but you know, even that as a bigger pot in a smaller plant holder there really does look quite good. So that's where we finished off there. So I'm just going to come down to trim. I'm going to leave this one a little bit longer because I might decide to make it longer at some point. So I'm just going to trim it down about there. Perfect, so there we go. So that's it for my video today then, guys. There's the 2 plant hangers there for you. You know, 2 different variations, 2 different heights. You can make these however you wish. Add some different knots in and things like that if you like as well. But it was just a bit of fun for you today to maybe bring a little bit of fun into your home if you're stuck at home the way that I am at the moment. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed my video today. Please do not forget to give me a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and to click that subscribe button to see any future content and more of my plant projects.